Hey everybody, how's it going? Hope you're having a lovely day. Welcome to today's episode of How You Getting Fucked. I'm your host, Louis Rossman, and today I wanted to read an email from a gentleman who works at a company that deals with Autodesk. Here's one for you. Autodesk, the company that makes CAD software, has been pursuing its customers like they are criminals. The company I work for has received communications, just like tens of thousands of other companies, saying that Autodesk is demanding that they perform an audit of our network system. They state that we agreed to this audit when we accepted the end-user license agreement terms to install the software. What they want is this. They are demanding that we download and install some invasive software that scans our entire network and maps it, looking for unlicensed or pirated Autodesk products. We have to allow the software access to every part of our network, past every firewall, every secured and encrypted area, etc. This is completely outrageous, and we have been ignoring and slow-walking the process, and they are getting more and more aggressive, finally sending us letters threatening legal action if we do not comply. Our company was the victim of a ransomware attack a few years ago, and since that, our security has been really amped up, and our insurance company has several stipulations on our IT policies that we must adhere to or they won't cover us in the event of any future ransomware attack. Putting some sniffing executable on our network that will go poking around mapping everything is a non-starter for us, considering that if that information were to leak out from Autodesk in the future, our IT infrastructure will be vulnerable for exploitation. Apart from that, we are a paying customer with several subscription seats of their very expensive software, and yet they're treating us like criminals they cannot trust, and they implicitly assume that we have also installed pirated Autodesk software for some reason. This is not how ethical, upstanding companies treat their customers. There are tons of forums on the internet of companies that are under legal threat and asking what to do. Sincerely, I'm not going to publish his name unless he wants me to publish his name for obvious reasons. So let's get to what I was able to find on this when I started looking into it. It seems like they used to reserve the right to audit their customers, but it seems like they also moved the burden a few years ago to the customer having to audit themselves, which I think is fucking hysterical. It's not just that we are going to accuse you of a crime with no evidence, but we're going to accuse you of a crime with no evidence and force you to investigate yourself. An earlier generation of this agreement from 2017 said as part of any such audit, Autodesk and its authorized representatives will have the right, or 15 days prior notice to licensee, to inspect licensee's records, systems, and facilities, including machine IDs, serial numbers, and related information to verify licensee's installation and access to Autodesk materials. However, this changed in around 2021 from what I can find in archive.org, requiring the customer on an audit request to provide a report to Autodesk using an Autodesk-approved verification tool within 15 days in place of the earlier model in which Autodesk conducted the inspection itself. Now, Autodesk is one of those companies that was actually fighting back against the idea of ownership very early on before I even started this channel in the 2000s. There was one gentleman that had purchased a copy of Autodesk used, and then he went to sell the software after he had purchased it used. And he got into some deep shit for doing so, and I want to read that story because I find it very funny. It was Vernor versus Autodesk. He bought several used box copies of AutoCAD Release 14. One he bought at a garage sale, and 4 others from another business that had originally obtained them from Autodesk, and then he resold them on eBay. So he purchased the software used, and he never represented it as anything other than what it was. Autodesk filed copyright takedown notices to pull the listings, so in 2007, rather than just accept it lying down, Vernor sues Autodesk to establish that reselling copies he had bought was lawful. A federal district court in Seattle ruled in favor of Vernor and said that the first sale doctrine applied. But on appeal, the Ninth Circuit sided with Autodesk and reversed the decision. They said that the user is a licensee rather than an owner of the copy, so the first sale doctrine that normally lets a buyer resell what they bought does not apply. When you look at the case and the opinion of the judge that had turned it over, Autodesk distributes Release 14 pursuant to a limited license agreement to which it reserves title to the software copies and imposes significant use and transfer restrictions on its customers. We determined that Autodesk direct customers are licensees of their copies of the software rather than owners, which has 2 ramifications. Because Vernor did not purchase the Release 14 copies from an owner, he may not invoke the first sale doctrine, and he may also not assert an essential step defense on behalf of his customers. For these reasons, we vacate the district court's grant of summary judgment to Vernor and remand for further proceedings. Second, it states that the customer has a non-exclusive and non-transferable license to use Release 14. eBay actually suspended his account because of Autodesk's repeated charges of infringement using our favorite law that we've talked about in this video over here, which, by the way, if you have not seen our video on the origins of the worst law on the internet, please look it up. I guarantee you it's going to be worth a watch. Now, he said that because he never actually installed the software and he wasn't the one that opened it, that he did not agree to their SLA, which said that he's not allowed to resell it. So it says you're not allowed to resell the software, but he never agreed to it because he never installed it. He simply purchased it, used, and then went to resell it. Are you noticing this pattern? With AB 2047 in California, they don't investigate you to see if you've done something wrong. They require that you prove your innocence with each thing that you print. And in this case, they're not investigating you because there's evidence that you did something wrong. They are requiring that you investigate yourself to prove your innocence before there's any evidence of a crime. It's one thing you have software with DRM. It's another to tell me that I don't own it. Now, without any sort of evidence, you're going to accuse me of a crime and then require that I investigate myself? Fuck you. That's crazy to me. I hope everybody pushes back against that kind of thing. You know, the thing is, if more companies were willing to push back against this, and I hope that this smaller company does, if more companies were willing to push back against this, they wouldn't be able to get away with those types of licensing agreements. I'm so old, I remember when you bought copies of Autodesk and you could just use it. This is not something that's new to this company. In the last 2 decades, Autodesk has slowly been discontinuing its perpetual licenses into mandatory subscription models. Such events include Autodesk stopped selling perpetual licenses for HSM Works in 2016 and eliminated access altogether in 2025, rendering locally stored information unusable. Autodesk acquired CADsoft Eagle in 2016 and moved Eagle and bundled it into Fusion, failing to preserve perpetual license continuity for Eagle users after the acquisition, discontinuation of permanent license for Product Design Suite 2013, embedded telemetry that reports installed Autodesk software and usage back to the company, which its compliance team checks against registered licenses, and it's just... ew. And lastly, transitioning all of its products from perpetual licenses to subscriptions and multi-year contracts billed annually in the past few years. Do you approve of this, BlackBerry? No, you don't. If buying isn't owning, then piracy isn't stealing, is it, BlackBerry? I wonder what BlackBerry would do if I told her that she has to investigate herself. You have not stolen a greenie, but I'm going to accuse you of stealing a greenie. You have to go investigate yourself now. And tell me what you find. Oh boy. My desk has almost another cat's worth of hair at this point. Clinton, why are you crying? Yeah, I hope his company tells Autodesk to go fuck themselves. I hope more do. If there's any more information that anybody wants to add to these wiki articles, I really do welcome it all. Anybody can edit these. You literally just click edit source. You don't have to be logged in for it to work, and you can add as much information as you want. I know it's going to be difficult to get people who are willing to come forward because they don't want to risk not having the ability to use the software, but something that's really important to go over is that if you don't talk about these issues, the company can continue getting away with it from now until the end of time, and we're trying to stop that and break that pattern. Please do help us do that at consumerrights.wiki by documenting these abuses of the concept of ownership. Every time a company changes the terms of the sale after the sale or just does some ridiculous shit like this, we want to log all of this so that we have examples of it that are not just Lewis yelling into a camera, not just random scribbly notes in a forum, but very well-cited documents that go over this with sources, citations, references in a disciplined way. As we continue trying to push a world where ownership actually means something, it's going to be important to have as many citations as possible in a disciplined way. And I can't do that by myself. So you'll see me in the comments very often in back and forth in email saying, hey, help me edit this wiki article. The entirety of all the work that I was doing with the 3D printing bill in California was with one dude, cough drops in my email, shout out, helping me with the wiki article that I was writing so that I could better understand the issue and better understand the 3D printing ecosystem and how it relates to firearms before I started talking about it for that video. I really do need the help of all of you to make this happen. Thank you very much for watching. And as always, I hope you learned something. I'll see you in the next video. Bye now.
We also have the duty not to infringe the IP rights in the process. It is in fact the manufacturers who have the relevant rights, not consumers.